welcome everybody again as usual, and thank you for devoting this time so we can all gather together. And you're all very, very welcome, and as usual invite you to send a pulse of gratitude, a sense of thank you to everybody else as well, because they've committed this time out of their day and joined us so that we can create this group. So I think everybody's really enjoyed the times when we've done the visioning the new earth. So it's been really nice to continue that. I felt I had some important things to say last week, so we didn't actually do it. So what I think, as I said, the first time that we visioned the new earth, we just did a very, very general thing. And then we narrowed it down. And I think if we can focus on the detail of how we see the new earth, what we want, what would be beautiful, what we can vision, then that detail makes it more real. It's like, what can I think of? Or something very silly, like I want a new car. That's, I might get, the joke is that you could get absolutely anything. It might be one without doors, it can be, extreme things. But if we very specific, I want a red car, whatever, then we're creating the detail. And it is our consciousness holding that image that gives it form and space to actually land here and manifest. We can't, I don't know what sometimes can happen to a child. I don't even remember when you're a child, but there might be a very excited relative, gives you this lovely present, and you unwrap it and it's like, what is it? If you don't know what the gift is, you don't appreciate it. And so if we can understand what gifts we want to receive, then those can be grounded, those can actually happen. And of course we can't intend, we can't ask for something we don't know exists, that we don't know what we don't know. And that's one of the lovely things about talking things through together, because they're having that discussion awakens ideas that we would never have on our own thought of, and we can hone this vision for the new earth. So the first one that we did was conception and birth, and what would be the beautiful ways, and it also points towards how unnatural things have become, especially around birth, and how it's become medicalized, etc. So it brings to the surface as well some wisdom and clarity about what we don't want. And that is another way of honing what we actually do want. So I thought it would be, nice to just walk through life in a way. So what I'm going to give to you to play with, to vision, to see how you would like it to be. And so that's the next stage of life, from birth through to 7 years old. I don't know whether you actually heard the phrase, give me a child. It's based in the masculine, is the phrase. Give me a child up until 7 and I will show you the man. And what that actually means is it's quite literally true. It's medically true in our physiology and the way that we develop and our brain works, is that the brain wave up until around the age of 7 is much closer to the brainwave that is connected to hypnosis. So children, you know, we might think we're doing our very, very best to bring up our children, which we all do, but the child is also picking up our subconscious stuff, because it's in our field of consciousness. So children are very, very sensitive, and this is how they learn about culture. This is how common cultural beliefs and attitudes and ways of being are passed to the child, not literally, you know, taught, but they're picked up in that way. And that is why it is a great gift and important when we don't, not that we often do it, it's usually the other way around, but to be as self-aware as possible as a parent, because it is on that level that the child picks up what it learns on those very, very subtle levels. And then that kind of is complete at about the age of 7. And it's a much more rational and conscious process of what we learn and how we respond and all the rest of it. The formation of the child's principal models for life are formed up until the age of 7. And this is one of the arguments about education. In Finland, for example, children don't go to school until they're 7. And, you know, we have our children going to playgroup at nursery at 2, you know, and then of course there's the family, and there's the extended family. And back in, I don't know, 60s, 70s, 80s, talking about the way of bringing up children in a kibbutz, where children are brought up not by the parents, but by the village, you know, just using that term, by the community. They're not one person's responsibility. And there are, you know, indigenous peoples that do share, and there'll be a number of mothers who actually are lactating. And if the birth mother has a job to do and goes somewhere, then the child would breastfeed from another woman. You know, so there's lots of things, lots of different ways, and different cultures do, you know, tremendous. Should you carry your child around for? How long should you breastfeed for? Etc. So what would be the fifth dimension, the higher dimension of bringing up our children? Would we find ourselves to be more telepathic? So, you know, the terrible twos, this is where we are with my granddaughter. She was 2 in February, so she's, you know, asserting herself. But then there's sometimes, her language is actually quite good, but sometimes there are things where she doesn't say what she wants, and it's just, you know, a tantrum. But if we were much more psychic, then you know, child wouldn't need to have the tantrum. We would know, we would have tuned in on that level. It's a funny a funny situation on Saturday. I went with her parents, and we went swimming. And then, hey ho, in Scotland the restaurants are now open. It's like, wow. So we went for lunch to a little restaurant near the swimming pool, and we're actually potty training her at the moment. So Freya's, you know, so she doesn't have nappies on during the day, and so it's, you know, got to always be aware and, you know, remind her, but not nag too much. And so I just, you know, it just came into my head. Oh, I think she wants to do a wee. And I thought, oh, you know, I didn't connect with that thought. And then Yes, she did, but it was an accident in the restaurant. So it's like, oh, I wish I'd trusted my intuition. But there we are. We had a puddle on the floor instead. So yeah, more, you know, how can we relate to our children? So I'll divide you into groups. Okay, so I've got to come back to taking responsibility, haven't I? Oh dear, that's so group one. Who was the spokesperson for group one, please? What's your vision for children? Oh, do you know the number for your group?
I
Okay.
just closed everything.
Have you got a spokesperson? Okay, all right. So we'll just go along. Don't know who it is in the middle. Carla, hi. Who was the spokesperson of your group, please?
I don't think we picked one.
Oh, well,
Um,
do you feel you could give an overview of what your group was talking about?
I think we were talking about education and showing and seeing the kids, and we talked about the different. I think we all sort of kind of agreed that the minority, like today, we have the Montessori groups, we have the Waldorf, where it's much more free and illuminating and enlightenment for kids, and looking at that moving forward, where kids are much more freer to in that imagination until the age of 7, and having that scope as opposed to that structure and control that typical education is happening today when they start at preschool. I think not all of us agreed, but I think we
No,
have.
I didn't agree that. I didn't
No,
agree.
Isabel, I'm not saying that you agree.
Yeah.
I said some of us agree, some of us didn't agree to that. Right?
Oh, so what were you saying, Isabel, about schooling?
I think I was thinking the most important thing, you teach the children right from wrong, and I think all this, I don't think we should have so much ideas about, because structure is a good thing. Free is also good, but it's not good for children to be too free. Like I don't know. I think we have too much ideas, and we should go more with good energy. A normal school can be really, really good, communal school, depending on the people working there, if there's good energy in the group, working group, and stuff like that, because there can be a really bad energy in some good places. Like, I don't know. That's what I think.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Oh, right. So Linda, hi. Would it be okay to
that would be born into the 5th dimension would come in with no karma and would know their path. They wouldn't have to particularly go through the veil and forget everything. They would kind of know what they were meant to be doing, and that they wouldn't have any problems with past lives because that would all be sorted out. They would pick things up very quickly because the communication would be very easy with their parents and whoever was around them, because they would all be telepathic. And they had come in close to God, their creator. And we talked about the story about the little boy and his new baby sister or baby brother, I can't remember exactly. And the baby brother was asked by the baby sister, can you please tell me about God, because I'm beginning to forget. And because, you know, you've only just come in. I don't know if anyone else has heard that story, but it's by Paulo Coelho. anyway, we thought that these children would be more connected to nature, and that they would have a kind of an inbuilt knowing of what to do with crystals. And if ever they touched anybody, there would be immediate healing going through. And they would be able to see and communicate with all the nature spirits and devas in nature. They would be peaceful. There would be no bullying or fighting or anything. And we thought that it would be lovely if they lived in a kind of community, a bit like the kibbutz that you were talking about. And it would all be like a big family. And that if, when they did go to whatever they might call a school, that they would be allowed to learn what they were interested in, because that's how children learn the best. You know, if they're interested in it, they would be given everything possible to help them in that respect. And they would have an inbuilt claircognizance. They would just know things. So that's basically what we thought.
Thank you. Thank you. So has another group got a spokesperson that was actually chosen? No? Okay.
We have group 4.
Okay.
How many groups are we?
Okay. All right. Yes, Lena, would you like to share what your group's ideas?
Yeah, okay. So I have to, Marco said, so there should be more connection with the mother from to be easier to have the opportunity to be more time with the mother. And Mario said, well, we mostly agreed to teach them from young age, or to give them the opportunity about spiritual world, to be connected with the spiritual world, that we are all the same, all one, teach values, love nature, be honest, give them the feeling of security, so they can express their full potential, so they know they're never alone, and just guide them and let them explore the world with joy, and so then they can ask questions without fear. And there should be communities, so each family can have a house, but as a whole, a community, like a big family, with activities to learn and play together. So also we quite agreed with nature, to be connected with nature. I also would say, yes, this telepathic communication, to communicate with animals and trees, and I would say also from communicate with beings from higher dimensions, because the children nowadays, they really are born with another potential, and they are opened. I have I commented, I have a friend who's doing like Waldorf school, but homeschooling, and they live very close to nature. So their children, a boy and a girl, they're really so, and they have kind of, yes, they have guidance, but there's no control like with 20 or 25 or more kids and one teacher and sitting there and explaining them. No, they explore. The mother is always, or someone is always there to guide them, but they're free enough to explore with joy their talents. This is the idea.
Thank you.
And well, I think to also, Elena said, to accept differences, to be and to accept, respect different opinions and cultures without judgment.
Thank you. Lovely. So that's four groups. Is that 4 groups?
I think
that's 3 groups. Colleen, do you want to?
Sure. First want to say, Jeanette Wilson, it's so nice to see you. I haven't seen you in ages. I mean, there's a ton of things that we went through that others have as well. So I'll just run through some of the ones that maybe we didn't go into as much. The first one is just acknowledging the fact that we're just born wise and leveraging that throughout. We talked about being the non-traditional family, where it's not as nuclear at all, and everybody takes responsibility and shares a level of love and compassion and care for everybody, whether it's your children that have been born to you or not. We also thought maybe we would just do away with school altogether. That could work too. And a really big one was freedom, that the children, and not just children really, but we're talking about children, but just to go out and do what you want, that you're never alone, you're never concerned something awful would happen to you, that you just have this carefree, I mean, a lot of us as kids can remember that, maybe some of us can't, but just that carefree attitude, which is just so freeing for everyone. The other thing is, if being of service in a way that if somebody is in need and you're in the position to fill that need, then you do it. No questions, no anything in the background, just do it, because that's the role that you play, and it gives everybody what they need, including yourself. We also talked about being born, having full recollection of what your previous lives were. And if I could read my own writing, no expectations of our children. That would be a part of the freedom, that there wouldn't be, they'd just be happy. There wouldn't be competition. There wouldn't be anything like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So with one more group, who was in that? Whose group has not been represented yet?
Amanda, I think you can talk for our group because I think you took all the notes.
Who are you suggesting, Dawn?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was with Dawn and Kai and Dipti, who unfortunately I think her Wi-Fi didn't quite work. So with the other groups, and I think there was a discussion about how whatever education and guidance, it would be very much child-led, and allowing the child to have freedom to play and to have allow their imagination to exist, and to be able to play, and allow them to play as much as possible, especially the ages that we were talking about, from birth to the age of 7. How in it to impose our ideas of what life should be, but to allow the child to create and to play, and to allow their imagination to flow, so that they could have the opportunity to figure it out, and to experience and to experiment for themselves. So we did talk about schooling and homeschooling as opposed to other sort of mainstream schooling, and yes, being out in nature as much as possible, being a really major part of the child's life, and allowing that connection to be as strong as possible. We also talked about breastfeeding, and how long, and child-led again if possible, and also, you know, the skin to skin touch, for it to be as long as possible, and for a child to be with their mums and dads, carried as much as possible as well. So because that kind of fosters the telepathy and connection between them. So that was kind of what we were sort of talking about. I don't know, Dawn or Kai, if you can add, if you'd like to add anything else.
Okay, thank
Anything else, guys?
or at all. Okay, lovely. Thank you, Ananda. Right, yes. For me, it's just it's just one word, and that was freedom, you know, and it just really hits home how restricted we feel at the moment, and how we feel that we, when I'm looking after my granddaughter, you always feel I must keep her in my sight, and it's all this. It's very must create quite an atmosphere of all these anxious mothers in the playground watching the swings, and are all our children safe? So I'm sure there'd be a massive difference. Yeah, which is lovely. And it's lovely to just listen to all of that you shared and just feel that. Could all pretend now that we are those children and just feel what it'd be like to just run around. I mean, would we even clothe our children if it was warm enough? And just run around in nature and jump in the river and climb a tree, and yes. Okay, so yeah, thank you for that. And so we'll bring this part to a close.